You don't even like sports.
Welcome to You Don't Even Like Sports, a podcast about sports, for people who don't like sports. With your hosts, Adam Todd Brown, and Jeff May.
Oh, hey, Jeff.
Adam, hello. How are you? It's so kind to see you today.
I didn't know you were going to be on this Zoom call. It's funny that you are because there's something I need to tell you.
Really? Well, that's fascinating because there's actually something that I've been meaning to tell you.
Oh, you don't even like sports.
You don't even like sport. This is so gift of the Magi.
I know. We got each other the same thing.
You don't even like sports. Yeah.
How cute. Hey, everybody.
I got you a comb so you could comb your You Don't Even Like Sports hair.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to You Don't Even Like Sports. I'm Adam Todd Brown.
And I'm Jeff May. This is a sports podcast for people who don't like sports, just like you.
Just
listener.
Like you, Jeff.
And Adam. Nah, you don't need to do it.
I said you. You said you.
You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit.
Oh, don't be that way. Jeff, how have you been since we recorded last?
You know what? Not too bad. I've done a lot of cocaine.
Of course.
While I was away. Like one does. I would say it would be foolish not to.
I mean, you want to familiarize yourself with the topic, so...
Oh, yeah. It's like being embedded in Kabul or something like that. Like you really have to soak up and absorb the world that you're learning about.
We're method podcasters. We really get into...
Meth podcasters.
Yeah, same diff with Maradona, kind of. So this week, as I mentioned on the last episode, we are definitely talking about a lot more cocaine, and it gets significantly darker on this episode.
Every time you think we're out of cocaine troubles, they snort us right back in.
Yeah, there's a lot. A lot happens to Diego Maradona in terms of cocaine after he retired from football.
Thematically, this would be like the Rick James cocaine is a hell of a drug part of the Rick James sketch.
Yes.
Like this is where Maradona is going to be like, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
But it's also the point in his career where he becomes a coach. And he did that for a long time despite not being great at it.
He's not very good. And that happens a lot. Like there's not a lot of great players that become great coaches.
No.
The best coaches are the ones that are pine riders. You know, like when you look at people like, Terry Francona, Alex Cora, for example,
Steve Kerr in the NBA.
Yeah. These are all people that were, sort of bench riding, fill-in players, pinch hitters, pinch runners. Dave Roberts is a good example.
Yeah.
I mean, what if he didn't steal that base in the 2004 ALCS? Would you know him for even being a baseball player?
Yeah, there's very few players. Some have tried. Magic Johnson tried coaching for a while. He wasn't great.
Yeah, he needed to learn to get back to managing instead of coaching.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Frank Robinson was a baseball manager for a while. And
yeah, that sounds right. Ozzie Guillen is a good example. Ozzie Guillen might be the most successful example of both.
Or
because he was an actual
Joe Girardi too.
Yeah, he was a pitcher, right?
Joe Girardi was a catcher.
Oh, yeah, I guess it makes sense that catchers tend to be the best coaches, too.
Yeah.
Because they already were essentially coaching a game in the game.
Yeah. Pete Rose was a player manager for a while, too. And also a player manager gambler.
Yeah. Pete Rose is an interesting cat to bring up when you're talking about this kind of shit.
Definitely.
You're like, you know who else did this? Pete Rose. It's like, what, get tombstoned at WrestleMania a bunch of times?
Diego Maradona, though, his coaching career started before he even retired. In 1994, during that 15-month ban for ephedrine, he attempted to coach for an Argentinian team called Deportivo Mandiu. Lasted 12 games. Team only won one of those games. Tried again in 95 with a team awesomely called Racing Club.
Fuck yeah.
But this time, he only lasted 4 months, during which he flipped off the crowd during his coaching debut.
Adam, who among us?
That is vintage Diego. And later in the season, he got sent to the stands after squirting one of his players with water during an argument during a match.
This is also, though, where I'm like, calm down, officials.
Yeah.
Let him squirt water at a player.
And I think that kind of got him fired from that job, basically. Like that was the beginning of the end.
Honestly, if a coach kicked the shit out of a player to keep him in line, I'd be like, man, this is a cool sport.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, he's spritzing a little water on some prima donna and he's the one that gets kicked out. That's something where I'm like, that kind of abuse should be okay. Which is probably not a sentence anybody should ever have to say out loud. But there needs to be that, like, I don't know, man, fucking have your coach berate your players every once in a while.
Is this happening, though, in a post-Latrell Sprewell coach or strangling his coach, strangling PJ Carlesimo?
I think that was 99 when that happened.
Yeah, maybe.
I think just in general, like, I of course believe in like the not actual abuse of players. Please don't take what I'm saying out of context, but like
I'll edit that out.
Punishing a coach for spritzing a little bit of water on a guy during an argument, like, shut the fuck up, calm down.
Well, yeah, that's why I asked if it was post Sprewell, because once that happened, coaches had to kind of tone things down, because Latrell Sprewell did the choking, but I think we eventually kind of found that PJ Carlesimo sort of deserved to get choked.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's the thing. If you're going to be a piece of shit and you get choked, like, I mean, you kind of brought that on, right?
Just had that coming. So
yeah. No, it was 1997 when it happened.
Oh, but it was
late 97. So that would have been like right before, this would have happened right before Latrell Sprewell choked the shit out of his coach.
We should do an episode about that.
That's the height of the Warriors. Warriors never had a better year than after Latrell Sprewell chokes their fucking coach out.
They had a few good years.
I mean, that's the bit.
Oh, okay.
That they've
I don't get it.
Essentially like a Bulls-like run
they've had,
of the...
Okay, no.
I said like.
Not even. It's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So...
Okay, let's get to it.
So, yeah, he tried coaching while he was a player. Didn't work out that great. He retires in 1997. We talked about that on the last episode.
We sure did.
And for a couple years, things were relatively quiet for Diego Maradona. He, retired from the sport, went home to hoover cocaine in front of his kids probably and things like that.
Yeah, went home to spend more time with his family and cocaine.
Yes. His one true love, cocaine. He kicked off the new millennium, though, in vintage Diego Maradona fashion. Hold up. By Millennium. Sorry.
Yeah, he was listening to Ricky Martin's World Cup song from 98.
That's a fucking banger.
That is a banger of a song. We don't even get to cover it on this show.
That song goddamn rules.
Go, go, go. That made people like soccer.
Shakira has a banger of a soccer song, too, that was sponsored by Activia. Still great.
Ooh, a shit yogurt.
Yeah. I like a shit yogurt.
That's what I want. I like a good shit yogurt.
I mean, I just like taking a good shit. I don't care how it happens, honestly.
Yogurt helps.
Sure does. So he kicks off the millennium by overdosing on cocaine while on vacation in Uruguay, if you can believe that.
That's literally how most people deal with vacations in Uruguay.
Yeah, I mean, it's how I wanted to spend Y2K in case the bug actually happened. Then I got all that coke and I can just lend bias my way out of there.
Hey, Uruguay 2K.
Oh, God damn it.
Got him.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We're not going to top that. We'll be back.
Thank y'all. Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you for coming out. Good night and God bless. I've been Russell Simmons. This is Def Comedy Jam. Here's a quote from the doctor who treated Diego Maradona. When I arrived, they rushed me inside. I found not Maradona, but a man who was dying. He was in a coma, laid out in a chair, surrounded by people who don't really have any idea what to do.
That was Maradona. What a stupid doctor.
What an idiot.
That really doesn't help the whole like third worldness of thinking of areas and that. He's like, well, I arrived and there were just people around him on a couch.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's going on with your hospital, man?
Well, no, this was when I think he arrived at where Maradona overdosed.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, the hospital in Argentina. It's just in a room. It's just a guy. Just a guy's place.
Uruguay.
Oh, Uruguay, right. Smaller room. So upon arriving at the hospital, doctors found that his heart was operating at 38% of its capacity, which is honestly higher than I expected.
I gotta be honest, it's still working.
Yeah. If
you got a third of a working heart right there.
If at this point in the Maradona video game, my health was still at 38%, I'd be like, wow, I didn't expect that.
I need to eat a roast turkey that I find under a trash can real quick so I can get some health back.
So he spent 2 days in intensive care before finally coming out of that coma, at which point he said this upon seeing one of his representatives: "Guillermo, bring me some steak with fried eggs and French fries and get me out of here. Where am I?" That's great.
I'm fuck with that.
Yeah. That's like, I feel like every celebrity has, like every drug-addled, crazed celebrity has a story like that.
I do feel like it would have been funny if the doctor was like, hey, no French fries.
Yeah. It's too much.
Tumas.
So he left Uruguay and returned to Argentina, where he continued his hospitalization
I like that he got traded to an Argentinian hospital.
Well, he's just going back home. He was in Uruguay on vacation. You don't want to...
I know, but it's just funny to me.
Yeah, they did have to sign a transfer bonus and whatnot.
Yeah.
So...
That Argentinian hospital paid $4 million up front to get him.
During that stint, this is a fantastic story. The medical staff, this is at the hospital in Argentina, the medical staff caught a drug dealer trying to sneak into Maradona's room. This is a quote. "Yesterday, we detected the entrance of a false doctor who had a stethoscope and hospital clothing. From all the information I gathered, it was a drug peddler."
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I'm not going to lie.
Those are always the stories that blow my mind. My favorite one along those same lines is Johnny Cash, who ended up in the hospital after getting attacked by an ostrich on his farm. And he was saved by his gigantic belt buckle because it sliced him down the middle. And he snuck a bunch of pain pills in with him because he was hopelessly addicted to narcotics at this point, and hid them underneath the bandage that covered up his wound. They dissolved, and he almost overdosed on pain pills.
I would also like to add that sneaking pain pills into a hospital when you're dealing with something like that, kind of a rookie move.
But Johnny Cash was a handful of pain pills a day kind of guy by that point.
But that seems like the place where you'd get that medically.
Not to the degree he needed them. Like
I'd be like, get me. Go ahead.
They would have probably thrown him in rehab, and I'm sure they did after that. It's a very wild story. But he was taking a lot of pills, like not an amount that a doctor who wasn't treating Michael Jackson would allow, because Michael Jackson's doctor overprescribed him drugs.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So after this drug dealer thing happens, Maradona gets moved to the psych ward, where security was tighter. And after leaving the hospital, he wanted to come to the United States to continue his drug treatment, like to enter rehab.
Oh yeah, this was a good time.
Yeah.
If you want to deal with getting legal drugs while weaning yourself off of illegal drugs, and the legal drugs are worse, go to America in the turn of the century.
Yeah. Come here and get some methadone, buddy. But he couldn't, because we denied him a visa to enter the country, which that's kind of surprising to me. Like, even though he's a drug-addled nightmare, he's still Diego Maradona, but also Bush was in office by this point, right?
Yeah.
So he's an asshole. So,
well, but Bush was busy planning 9/11.
That's true. So,
like, he doesn't have time to deal with this stuff, you know?
Well, that's what bothers me about him having time to deal with this much stuff. Like, you're busy planning our nation's biggest tragedy, and you're also taking time out to block Maradona from coming into the country. What'd you think he was going to do? 9/11?
Yeah. Can't do. Yeah. That's why you got to do your own 9/11 first.
Right? Yeah.
Nice try, Maradona.
Yeah. You don't want that trendsetter coming to this country and stealing all your thunder. So instead of coming to the United States, he did the next best thing. He went to Cuba, which, here's the thing. Cuba at the time, and probably still, does have kind of an extensive healthcare tourism industry where if you come hang out in Cuba, they'll treat you for free.
It's like Mexico and teeth.
Yeah. Or prescription drugs. It's where Johnny Cash was coming back from when he got arrested. So
Johnny Dinero.
I don't get it.
Because it's cash in Spanish.
Oh, I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know.
Context clues, bro. Context clues.
No, I have a brain injury. So during this time in Cuba, he forms a for real friendship with Fidel Castro.
That tracks.
It does, because for one thing, already by this point, he had a tattoo of Castro on his shin, which sounds like a painful place for a tattoo.
Yeah, that's why they wear shin guards.
Yeah.
Because of all the painful tattoos they got.
That makes sense.
But on top of that, too, like, meeting somebody that has a tattoo of your face on you, like, that's got to be unnerving, right?
I don't know if I could be friends with someone who had a tattoo of me.
Yeah, that establishes an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, we could hang out.
But I guess if you're Castro, you're kind of like, you have to accept that that's a part of the deal.
Yeah, and Castro's a huge figure in world history. So it's like he's the kind of figure who inspires people's beliefs. Like people probably read books or things about Castro and are like, that's what I want to do. Che Guevara too, who Maradona had a tattoo of on his shoulder. You think Castro was like,
I think it's your gut personally? Yeah.
Why'd I get the shin?
Because I use my shins.
Yeah, there you go. Going to be more visible because he wears outrageously short shorts during this period for a living.
Yeah.
Like he's wearing some nut huggers.
He should have got it on his quad.
Yeah.
Because the shin guards are going to make that shin tattoo invisible.
Or on his nose, the other part of his body he used the most to snort the coke, you see.
No, I get it.
I'm explaining all my jokes these days. That's what I do.
You nailed it.
So, yeah, he heads to Cuba. He becomes huge friends with Fidel Castro. And this is one of the reasons this podcast is going to be 2 episodes longer, because he becomes super involved in not just politics, but leftist politics throughout the 2000s. Very vocal critic of the Bush administration, good friend of Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro both. That's not going to endear you to the United States at all. No. So he ends up going to Cuba to get treatment for his cocaine. And it maybe worked for a while, but things were quiet for the next few years. He returned to Argentina eventually, played in friendly matches from time to time, spotted tooling around town in his car, just generally lived a low-key, beloved by the people kind of life.
It's the life you want.
It is.
After sports is like you're just around and people are like, we fucking love that guy.
I saw James Worthy at a Marmalade Cafe in Santa Monica, like when I first moved to LA, and I was like, oh my God, this is what it's like. I'm going to see James Worthy every week. And no, but it was still just cool seeing him out.
Sometimes it's Thanos drunk.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That happened a block from my apartment the year I moved here.
You're like, Cable? Thanos?
Outside a volcano. Weird. Which I love a volcano.
So it's a very safe.
It is. It's like
safe sushi spot.
Like the Chili's of upscale restaurants. It's barely a little above Chili's.
Yeah.
Pretty good. People have no idea what we're talking about unless you live in LA. We're sorry. So April of 2004, that's when Diego Maradona's life gets a little less quiet. In that year, he was rushed to the hospital after suffering another cocaine-induced heart attack after watching a Boca Juniors match.
Must have been an intense match.
I think that is kind of what it was, because I believe he was at the stadium when this heart attack happened. Yeah, probably just the adrenaline and the excitement. I don't know what else would have been.
Yeah, nothing else has been beating the shit out of his heart for the past 2 decades.
Beet grease, available now in the Unpop store.
Been sucking back some of that beet grease.
So gross. Jeff, speaking of gross, fun, quirky side detail to this particular overdose. One, the trip to the hospital took 45 minutes, probably because he was at a soccer match. He choked on his own vomit during that trip to the hospital and was put in a medically induced coma.
He had a little Hendrix experience.
Yeah, Hendrix. Who's Keith Moon?
Hendrix experience.
Oh, man. That works. It works.
Thank you.
Yeah, Keith Moon, I think, choked on his own vomit, too.
There it is.
That's why, if anyone's listening to this and you're unfamiliar with this life hack, if one of your friends falls asleep super duper drunk and you are in their care, turn them on their side so they don't die.
But also draw a dick on their face.
Yeah. Do that first. Well, because you're going to have the better angle when they're on their back, and then you roll them over.
Yeah, and also dip your nuts on their forehead and take a photo of it.
Of course. Why not? I mean, unless you got weird nuts that you don't want people to see, then hit up me or Jeff. We'll do it.
Show those nuts.
Show those nuts. Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be in a medically induced coma because of this, which is a blast.
That is pretty intense. But he spent a week on a respirator, 4 days removed from that. After getting off that respirator, he was feeling so good, Jeff, he left the hospital against doctor's orders.
Hey, Adam, sometimes your body tells you it's okay, and you just go. Things are fine.
You got to listen to your gut. You got to listen when your body's talking to you.
Yeah, and so he knows he's healthy.
And in this case, his body lied to him viciously because Maradona had another heart attack within a month of leaving the hospital.
Feels like they kind of compound.
Yeah, it's a buildup. I mean, that's how heart disease works. You don't just
It's like stubbing. Yeah, it's like stubbing your toe. You do it once and you're going to do it like 3 more times in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, it's like an earthquake. the initial and then there's the aftershocks.
It's a heartquake.
Oh. So from there, he has the second heart attack. They move him to a specialty clinic in Buenos Aires. He's there for about 4 months. He spends another 70 days at a treatment center in Cuba. And shockingly, within a year, he seemed to be on the road to recovery. He had lost a ton of weight, looked like he was in better shape than he was in the last years of his playing days, because he definitely was.
Yeah. Well, at this point in time, his heart is the consistency of a golf ball.
It's bad. It's and this is also around the time when he makes that famous statement to a reporter where he's like, can you imagine how much better I would have been than these motherfuckers if I wasn't doing cocaine?
That's Ric Flair has said that. Did you watch the Ric Flair 30 for 30?
Oh, yeah.
It's when he's talking about how, and everybody's like, oh, he was the greatest conditioned athlete on the planet, except he was drinking like 24 beers a day.
Like, you have to be drinking while you work out, I would think. Well, not necessarily. I've known people.
Wade Boggs didn't.
Yeah, I've known people who get home from work and just pound an 18-pack or a 24-pack, which...
That's the kind of people that call it a rack.
God, that's so many calories, if nothing else.
Well, that's exactly it. You see Ric Flair being that perfectly conditioned while downing a fucking case of beer.
And I've never pictured Ric Flair. I've never associated him with abs. Like, I know he was in great shape, but
exactly
not abs great because of the beer.
But he was doing those hour-long matches when nobody else could.
Yeah.
And he was doing them like back to back to back. His training was crazy. Imagine if he wasn't sucking back 3,000 calories of liquid calories.
Should we do a Ric Flair season at some point?
If they didn't already do that dope 30 for 30.
I mean, there's a 30 for 30 about Rodman.
Yeah, but ours was better than that. Well, that's fair.
That's true.
There's a lot of wrestling people to cover, and we've been bandying it about. Do you watch Dark Side of the Ring, by the way? Side note?
No.
I think it's on Vice.
Mm-mm.
It's definitely worth taking a look. It's a documentary on all the awful shit that happens in the wrestling business.
By not covering Ric Flair, we're missing out on covering his allegation that he had sex with Halle Berry.
With Halle Berry, yeah.
Which, oh man, way to go, Ric Flair.
If he did, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a risky thing to lie about. And I don't know that Halle Berry ever came out and denied it.
Remember that wrestlers, though, they are professional liars.
That's true.
So, like...
keeping that kayfabe going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Maradona goes through treatment. He comes back. He's looking like he's in great shape. And boy, does he make an unconventional return to the spotlight. And by that, I mean... he started hosting a weekly, is it an interview show? Like, it's a talk show. He interviews one celebrity each week.
Yeah, it's a talk show.
But it's a very Diego Maradona talk show in that it also includes scantily clad women, lots of flashing lights, a smoke machine. There's a gigantic stage, even though he just interviews people at a very small table.
Hell yeah, man.
It's great. It was called La Noche del Diez. The Night of the 10. That was his number when he played, you know?
That sounds like the worst, like, horror film.
Yeah.
The Night of the 10. What?
I don't know. I'd be kind of unnerved if the monster in a movie was called the 10.
No, that's fair, I guess.
There's a British...
I'm not going to say no to that.
There's a British BBC thing that was kind of like War of the Worlds in that people watched it and thought they were seeing a real thing. The ghost in that was called Pipes because whenever he showed up, the pipes would start rattling. And I've always loved that fucking name for a monster in a movie.
A ghost being named Pipes? You're just like, what? Is it like a ghost that plays the trumpet?
Yeah, can it sing?
Yeah.
Is it Mariah Carey? So this show ran for 13 episodes, one season in 2005. He interviewed some really fascinating people, some American athletes. His first interview was with Pele, and they famously hated each other, kind of.
Yeah, I was going to say that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, they got along in the interview, but also apparently during that episode, he played like a cartoon skit, and the villain in that was apparently drawn to look exactly like Pele. So that's funny. That's kind of a Michael Jordan thing to do. But what's crazy, even though he interviewed Fidel Castro at one point, by far his most famous interview, Mike Tyson.
Fuck. I mean, who isn't having a Tyson interview and it's not their most famous interview?
And this is face tattoo Mike Tyson. Like,
it's good. That's a good Tyson to have.
It sure is. And it's like early because it's 2005. So it's still, 15, 16 years ago.
Just retired from boxing, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he would have retired right around 2004.
Yeah, something like that. God, those last Tyson fights were so fucking sad.
Well, his last fight was with a giant.
Yeah. Yeah.
A big Irish guy, right?
Yeah. So the interview itself with Tyson is fun. It's kind of hard to watch because the translator talks over Mike Tyson while Mike Tyson is talking. And you also don't hear a translation of Diego Maradona's questions because that's going right into Tyson's ear. And the subtitles, very unhelpfully, are all in Spanish also. But
it's ridiculous.
Like, cater to America, Argentinian late night television. Come on.
Know your audience.
Duh. So the interview with Tyson itself is fine, but it's the way it ends that really typifies what Diego Maradona's talk show was like.
It's all you need, man. I'm going to be honest. What do you remember about Fargo? The fucking wood chipper scene.
Yeah. I mean, Fargo's
it's a great movie.
But that wood chipper scene
really, really plants itself in there.
It's my favorite movie, by the way.
I love it.
So for starters, Diego Maradona ended every show in a very Diego Maradona way. And that was, he ended every episode by presenting the guest with a signed Argentina national team jersey, which on the surface, you're like, oh man, that's cool. But this is a guy, he's interviewing fellow athletes and shit.
Athletes trade jerseys all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if you've ever seen like a Cribs or anything with like an athlete and they're like, here's all the baseball players. It almost was upsetting. I saw like David Ortiz's house and he's like, here's a CC Sabathia jersey that I got after a game. And it's like, no, he plays for the other team, you motherfucker.
Yeah, you see that in the NBA a lot now. Players will just walk up to each other immediately when the game ends and trade jerseys. The NFL too.
Yeah, it's like picking your partner in science class for the lab.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I want to get this guy's jersey because I like this guy.
During COVID, players couldn't do that in the NFL, so I think it was Tide, did this promotion where players could like talk about it and figure out who wanted to trade jerseys, and then Tide would take them and wash them and mail them to the other player.
I mean, that's nice, I guess.
I mean,
it's a good promo, and Tide couldn't have been hurting during COVID.
Oh, no. I'm sure Tide was doing great.
Yeah, they're like, wash your shit.
So the way this interview ends, while Mike Tyson is getting his signed Maradona jersey, he literally has to be reminded, I believe by Maradona himself, please don't fondle the models on stage.
It's like a fox in the henhouse telling the other fox not to touch the models.
Yeah, I mean, in the big scheme of things, it's way down the list in terms of things Mike Tyson has done to women.
Yeah, right?
So that happens.
And that's just to Robin Givens.
Yeah. That Robin Givens interview. That was a thing.
Did you ever hear Tyson's reaction to that?
Oh, yeah.
Where he's just like, I couldn't even believe she said that. Like, he vehemently denies that.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is an interesting thing because, I don't know, like, taking a shot from Mike Tyson to, like, a regular person, but, like, Robin Givens, like, 100 pounds, man.
Yeah.
And the thought of that freaks me out.
Yeah, he did that in, I think, 85 or 86. Remember he got in a fight with Mitch Green outside Dapper Dan's Clothing in Brooklyn and exploded Mitch Green's face.
That's fucking a jab from Mike Tyson. I remember somebody like wanted an autograph and he was like, I'm out. And it was after he was a fighter. It was like years later. And then somebody kind of did like a what? And Tyson drilled the guy. And like the cops were like, well, they call him Iron Mike for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, don't think that's the one thing where people are like, oh, I know how to fight. And it's like, oh, no, you don't.
No.
You think you do because you've been in a brawl before. But taking a shot from Mike Tyson will fucking cripple you.
Yeah, Mike Tyson is the one who coined the phrase, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
I had that on a t-shirt.
Because everyone, especially in those early days, they were like, I got the reach on him. I can fuck. And then you get punched by Mike Tyson. It's a whole other thing.
Yeah, your life changes. They said the equivalent feeling is putting a phone book up to your head and then having someone swing a baseball bat into it.
Oh,
that's the equivalency of force that came from Mike Tyson throwing a 16-ounce glove into your fucking head, or a 14-ounce glove, excuse me, into your fucking head.
So you want to tell him to stop fondling the models before he gets too into it and it's too late.
But you also kind of want to be like, you know what, Mike Tyson, you do what you want to do. We'll deal with this after the fact.
So, I mean, Tyson was Joe Biden and the shit out of this woman, just like stroking her side. He had his arm around her and he's like,
it's still Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
You know, Tyson's gone Tice.
So he gets his signed jersey. And then next, he and Maradona spend a little time where Maradona's trying to teach Mike Tyson how to juggle a soccer ball with his head.
Wholesome.
It is. It's very cute. They're hitting it back and forth.
Get a little stop a little bit of the soft sexual assault so you can do something fun and cute, you know.
Yeah, they had to separate Mike from the women. That wasn't enough because then Mike Tyson starts showing Maradona how to hit a heavy bag, and boy do they get close.
Yeah, less cute.
Yeah, he really digs into Maradona. Like I wouldn't want to be trained Maradona. How to box in that way.
I mean, I've literally had people grab me and move me in the direction to show me how to throw certain punches.
Did they do it seductively over your back?
Well, he was an 84-year-old man, so yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then Mike Tyson picks Diego up and carries him in his arms for a little bit, like a man carrying his new bride across the threshold. And then they walk hand in hand up a massive set of stairs that I don't know. They are literally only there so Maradona can walk up and down them when the show ends.
It's like variety show stairs.
Yeah.
You know, like variety shows used to have those big staircases so you could do a number.
And there's
coming down, you know.
There's a massive stage that is also for nothing but Maradona walking around and waving. He and Tyson leave hand in hand while the audience is they're flanked by models, of course, and the audience is doing some kind of soccer chant.
Wholesome.
It was a
partially wholesome.
Apparently a popular show. There was only one episode, I guess, where he didn't lead in the ratings the night it aired.
That's the Castro episode.
It would be funny if it was, and I wouldn't be surprised, maybe. Very awesome side note to this appearance. Later that year, Mike Tyson was charged with assault in Brazil for taking a camera from a paparazzi photographer and destroying it because he kept asking the guy not to film. The guy wouldn't listen, so Mike Tyson got upset, took his camera, and broke it.
Support.
Right. And his argument, because the reporter was also like, he hit me. And I'm pretty sure the argument was like, come on, you know what would happen if I hit him. Like I broke his camera, but I didn't hit him. Like his head would have exploded. But when that incident happened, he had to go to court in Brazil, and he arrives for his court appearance wearing the signed Maradona jersey he got on that show. And he did that because Argentina is Brazil's most hated soccer rival. I love that.
Troll the judge.
Yeah. I mean, you're Mike Tyson. What's going to happen?
I mean, I think we know.
Yeah, you'll go to prison for a few years.
Yeah. Will your pain go away if I bought you a range? It's a song by Jay-Z and R. Kelly.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Called Not Guilty.
They have two albums together.
Allow me to say that again. Jay-Z and R. Kelly did a song together called Not Guilty, and it fucks.
Both of those albums are fucking great.
Yeah. That song is so good. The bass line on that album.
Yeah. Yeah. R. Kelly.
That
guy's a fucking problem, man.
Wait.
I know.
Who?
I know. Out on a limb. You don't have to follow
like
me.
Music R. Kelly or a different R. Kelly?
A different R. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Movies R. Kelly.
Ooh.
So the same year his talk show premiered, Diego becomes a board member at Boca Juniors. This is when he gets back into coaching. And his time there was really successful, but it only lasted a year. He left over a dispute when team manager Alfio Basile, who Maradona had hired, decided to leave and coach the national team. So Maradona was angry about that, so he left Boca Juniors, and then he took Basile's job as national team manager.
Man, that's a good spite move.
That's some Michael Jordan shit right there. And he took over that role in 2008. It went well, mostly. They even qualified for the 2010 World Cup. That said, his relationship with the media was a little tense.
Because of the shootings.
I mean, he had already shot at them. I don't know how much more tense it could get. But during one press conference, he told the press they could stick their comments up their asshole and then turned to one of the cameras, grabbed his dick, and said this: "They can suck it and carry on sucking it. This is for all Argentines minus the journalists. I want to thank my players for qualifying because they played like men, and today they consecrated me as a coach. I want to dedicate this to the whole of Argentina, to my family too, but there is one group who do not deserve this because they have treated me like rubbish. I don't usually read the newspapers or listen to sports programs, but my daughters do, and they told me what had been said about me, so I repeat to all those that said anything against me, keep eating your words." FIFA suspended him for 2 months for that rant.
I don't know. It feels like a good rant.
Yeah, I think it's probably the grabbing his dick part that...
And the suck it.
Yeah, maybe.
And care. But I mean, FIFA didn't ban Shawn Michaels and Triple H when they did the whole suck it thing in the WWE.
That's a good point.
D-Generation X was a huge team in FIFA.
Yeah, they made the World Cup that same year.
They did the whole, like, the suck it thing. And then nothing. Vince McMahon could have banned them.
Right.
But he didn't. You know why?
Soccer is a more ethical league than most.
I don't know. I wonder if you'd have to choose between what's the more ethical sporting league, soccer or the WWE.
Oof.
And you'd be like, oh, I don't know. The WWE's awful, but at least they don't have slaves.
Yeah, they don't have slaves building their next big tourney.
Although, when you look at their farming system.
Yeah.
Maybe a
Dark side of the ring.
Oosh.
Yeah, the grabbing his dick thing reminds me of an interview I saw recently. I can't remember the player's name. I think he plays for the Nationals, but he does this thing where after every pitch, he like turns to the pitcher and glares at him and sometimes grabs his dick and then goes back to his batting stance. And he was being interviewed. I want to say it's Juan Soto, but maybe not. He was being interviewed by Jeff Passan, who is a ESPN sports guy. He's fucking great. And this player he's interviewing is like, "I don't know why players get mad when I do all this." And Jeff Passan goes, "You think it's because you're grabbing your dick?" Good times.
It's fair.
Good question.
I mean, it's about time that somebody saw a baseball player grab their junk.
I know. Yeah.
It's historically never happened.
Very rare. So he gets suspended for 2 months, but he returns in time for the 2010 World Cup to coach the national team. Manage the national team. That's the thing. Managers don't like being called coaches, at least in baseball. I know that. But he continued to be Diego Maradona as fuck. Case in point, I love this. He made fans really angry by refusing to add a young and talented Argentine player named Javier Zanetti to the national team in favor of a virtually unknown veteran named Ariel Garce. And why did he pick Ariel Garce? Because he had a dream that Argentina won the World Cup, and the only player he could remember being on that team was Ariel Garce.
I wonder, how did Ariel Garce do in the World Cup?
Probably not great, but either way, because that's one of the things that ends up kind of ruining their chances in the World Cup is they needed this Javier Zanetti guy. Like whatever, I don't remember what position he was at, but he was the best available.
I'm assuming he was a defender because Ariel Garce was a defender.
Yeah. And yeah, he picked Ariel Garce instead because he dreamed about it, which solid coaching right there. On the day the roster was announced, the whole 2010 World Cup is a circus for Diego Maradona. On the day the roster was announced, he marked his arrival at the event by running over a reporter's foot with his car and then getting angry at the reporter for it. It's a quote from Maradona when that happened. "What an asshole you are. How can you put your leg there where it can get run over, man?"
I mean, kinda.
Yeah, don't get that close to the car.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing when you see like paparazzi getting in front of a car and then they get bumped. And it's like, well, you got in front of a moving car. Also weird to say, and I don't know what's going on, but Javier Zanetti actually older than Ariel Garce.
Oh, weird.
By 6 years.
Huh.
Or, yeah, 6 years older.
Well, the article I read for this can go fuck itself.
They might have mixed up the names.
Maybe. I don't know. It was definitely Javier Zanetti that got left off the team.
He was 1979. Zanetti was from 1973. Also, Garce, very handsome.
I feel like we're focusing on the wrong detail there.
I know.
Which is that Maradona picked him because he was in a dream.
That is ridiculous.
That is crazy.
It's like very stupid.
So yeah, he runs over a reporter's foot and then yells at him for it.
I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah. I don't know what result the reporter in this next thing was expecting when he asked Diego Maradona this question during an interview.
It's a great question to ask, though.
He asked if the players he was managing were allowed to have sex during the World Cup. And this is Diego Maradona's answer. Of course, as long as the women do all the work. It is important the action should not reverberate in the legs of the players. Sex isn't a problem. It's only a problem if they're doing it at 2 a.m. with a bottle of champagne on the go. I mean, he would know.
Yeah. Hey, women weaken legs.
Is that actually true?
I mean, I would say that engaging in a different activity like that when you're training for a fight, I guess I can sort of understand that, but I don't think it's been proven.
Yeah. I mean, it's still training of some sort, unless you suck at it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Mick knows.
Who's Mick? Mick?
Women weaken legs. You're a loser, Rock.
Yeah. I ordered a Rocky 3 hat, the gold one with the fucking band across it. I cannot wait to get that.
You should have ordered a Rocky 4 Drago hat. It's just a Soviet military hat.
Yeah. He sells the Rocky 3 hats on his on Sylvester Stallone's website.
Ooh, I wouldn't give him any money anytime soon after where he's been hanging out.
Where's he been hanging out?
Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, yeah. That's unfortunate.
God damn it, Stallone.
God damn it. So, yeah, I don't know what kind of answer he thought he was going to get when he asked, Diego fuck machine Maradona that question.
It's a great answer.
Yeah, it's a solid answer. It's an honest answer.
Yeah, he's like, it's fine as long as they don't fucking burn themselves out and go to 2 a.m. with fucking champagne bottle. Let them fuck.
Then there was also this thing he did at a training session in Pretoria. Because I think this World Cup was in South Africa, if I'm not mistaken. And they're training in Pretoria at one point, and they had a little mini match during training. And he punished the losers of that mini match by making them line up at the goal where they were pelted with balls thrown by the winning opponents. To his credit, he stood in that line also.
Adam, I don't hate it.
That's pretty amazing.
All these controversial things, I'm always just like, yeah, I get it. Like, what's so funny is like all these controversies, I'm like, yeah, man, that's what would happen. Like it's just, you call the guy an asshole for putting his foot under his tire. I get it. Or like he's saying like, yeah, let him fuck. I get it. Or like giving a nice little razz to the team that loses in a little mini match. Like, it's not like it's not like a spiteful thing. It was like a razz thing. It's like,
yeah, I mean, I'm not upset about it.
Yeah. I don't understand why these are controversies for people.
Well, in 2010, I get why that would have been a controversy. Like that, by then we're way past removed from that thing where coaches get to beat the shit out of their players.
This also seems like a bro-y frat bet that like nobody minded except for the people that heard about it.
Yeah.
Like, I doubt the team that was getting pelted with the balls cared.
And yeah, I don't even know that people really cared about it. It's just a crazy thing he did during the 2010 World Cup.
I should have done that with my soccer team.
The girls' soccer team you coached?
The 12 to 14
You should have lined them up and you throw the balls.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that would have been great. I don't know.
Just fucking boom, just soccer balls smashing into some 80-pound girl's head.
Straight to the face. There was also a moment when asked during a press conference why he always hugged and kissed his players after a goal. Have fun sticking up for this one, Jeff. His reply, well, I still prefer women. I am dating Veronica, who's blonde and 31 years old. No, I have not gone limp-wristed, but I like to acknowledge and congratulate my players when they play as well as they did today. That was a pleasing result and display. It was a job well done.
I have one note.
Let's hear it.
There's one sentence in there that if you pull it out, you're like, that's a good answer.
What line is that?
Oh, I think we know.
I am dating Veronica, who is blonde and 31 years old. What's wrong with that, Jeff?
That's a great line. Are you kidding me? I love that he squeezed that one in. The sentence after it, though. Oof.
Oh, but also, I've not gone limp-wristed thing. Sure, yeah.
Whoever asked that question's kind of an asshole.
Oh, yeah.
Because why is that? Like, why do you show affection to your players when they do well? It's like, I don't know, because he fucking cares. And he answered that. He's like, I like to acknowledge and congratulate my players when they play as well as they did today. That was a pleasing result and display. It's a job well done. It's funny how he can be both incredibly toxic and incredibly non-toxic in the same sentence.
Yeah, he really walks that line. He did his entire career.
I hate to push it towards cultural points, but like, fiercely Catholic areas tend to be fiercely homophobic.
What?
I don't know if you knew this.
Come on, Jeff. I'm not trying to get canceled here.
You're getting canceled, bro.
Oh, no.
But the fact that he has the wherewithal to acknowledge that, but then also be like, but I don't care. I love these guys.
Yeah.
It's not the worst.
Yeah. And we don't know the way that question was asked. Like,
yeah.
It could have been like the Reagan administration asking that reporter why he cared about the AIDS crisis.
Yeah, right.
You ever heard that recording? The guy's like, what? Do you have AIDS?
Yeah, what do you got it, Jim?
Jesus. Anthony Fauci was in charge during the AIDS crisis. I love when they brought that up in the early days of the pandemic. And I was like, oh, so a lot of us are going to die before we figure this out? Great.
He knows a lot about learning lessons.
He sure does. So there was also a moment where Pele said in an interview that Maradona only took the national team job because he needed the money. And Maradona responded that Pele should go back to the museum, which
boom.
That's a great comeback that I am not 100% sure what it even means.
I mean, I'm guessing that he's nothing more than something that you cart out.
Like a relic, yeah.
Yeah, he's a relic. He belongs in a museum.
But he was also that kind of reminds me of Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon, where they were always fighting during their career. And then once Tony Stewart retires, they're like, oh yeah, we're best friends also though. Like we love each other. And the same thing with Maradona and Pele. He makes Pele the first guest on his talk show. So
to bury the hatchet.
So probably the most Maradona moment of all of this, and one that ends on a kind of positive note. During this World Cup, FIFA introduced a new ball, which is called the Adidas Jabulani. For that World Cup, they introduced it, and the players hated it, like super duper hated it.
Yeah, like why would you do that?
Yeah, I
guess money.
Yeah, but why do it during the World Cup? I guess it was probably like a sponsorship thing, I guess. But the players, the thing they struggled with the most was free kicks, because that's a thing. You have some ball control involved in that. And they were missing a ton of free kicks because of this Adidas Jabulani ball. Meanwhile, there's video we'll link to of Diego Maradona during a training session for the 2010 World Cup using this Adidas Jabulani ball and just firing free kicks into the goal at will.
Do you know what the problem with the Jabulani ball was?
What?
It was too perfect to fly straight. It was too round.
Oh.
So it wasn't doing what you have been trained to do, which is to use the seams of the ball to sort of like control the air. So it basically ended up being like a knuckleball.
And that makes it all the more impressive that Diego Maradona was just like, fuck it, I bet I can do it. And he just kicks a shit ton right into the goal. It's pretty fun to watch.
It was intended to improve aerodynamics and ended up being this like kind of mess.
Yeah. Wouldn't have stopped Diego though.
Yeah. I mean, there are articles called The Adidas Jabulani, the story of the 2010 World Cup's uncontrollable football remembered a decade on. That was from last year. So from last June, they talk about that fucking ball.
That's crazy. Unfortunately, Argentina's performance on the pitch during that World Cup was way less impressive than Maradona's press conference performances.
He should have been taking free kicks.
Yeah, he should have played.
Like a pinch hitter.
When they went in, hopes were really high on account of how Maradona was coaching. But he was coaching a young Lionel Messi, who was making his first World Cup appearance as the Lionel Messi the world came to know him as. He did play in the 2006 World Cup, but he was like very young and hadn't developed into who he is now. But it didn't help. They lost 4-0 to Germany in the quarterfinals. Maradona resigned as manager shortly thereafter. There's actually still a lot of debate as to who was the better player, Diego Maradona or Lionel Messi. And Maradona's inevitably always going to win that argument because he won a World Cup or two. Messi has never won one. 2010 World Cup kind of set the stage for Argentinian soccer over the next decade. They haven't won much.
Yeah, there's very much like Maradona kind of comes off as like the Babe Ruth, where it's just like, yeah, this dude was doing shit people couldn't do while being a complete piece of garbage.
Yeah, but also like Babe Ruth, Maradona won some championships. And
he sure did.
Lionel Messi hasn't. Like that, you see that debate all the time in sports. Like no one brings up Charles Barkley as one of the best NBA players ever, but he fucking was. But he didn't win any championships. But Charles Barkley was dominant. Fucking Karl Malone.
Karl Malone, dominant in the ring.
Yeah, he won.
As
he
we
won
found out.
He won some wrestling championships.
Bash at the beach. Man, it's so. I go back to that moment a lot.
Yeah, that was magic.
No, it was the mailman.
Oh, sure, yeah. I get them mixed up. Easy mistake to make. Magic Johnson, Karl Malone.
I mean, you didn't want Magic in a fighting situation, you know what I mean? Yikes.
They barely wanted him in the Olympics.
And you know who didn't really want him in the Olympics is Karl Malone.
Yeah. Karl Malone's a piece of shit. So
Sure is.
this seems like a good place to stop. Lionel Messi, 2022 is probably going to be his last international tournament because he's getting up there in age, and we'll see if he wins a World Cup. If he doesn't, it's always going to be Maradona over. Like it's like Tom Brady. I think on last episode I brought up Tom Brady and I called him the greatest quarterback, but not the best. Like Maradona has won so much that even if Lionel Messi wins one World Cup, people are still going to be like, all right, Maradona's the greatest. But like Tom Brady's not the best quarterback ever. That's probably, I mean, right now it's probably Patrick Mahomes. Seems like he's going to be the best quarterback ever. But like Tom Brady's not better than Aaron Rodgers. He's not better than Dan Marino. He's not better than Joe Montana.
I mean, he's better in practice.
Well, he's more accomplished.
Yeah.
He's not like mechanically and physically, he's not as skilled of a quarterback as most, but he's just won so much more.
Yeah, he's not as good in theory. Like he's not as good at like, you know, a punt pass kick competition or whatever. But in practice, when the shit comes down, he utilizes the tools that he's given better than anyone else.
Yeah. It's not what I'm saying. Like,
I know.
Like there's musicians out there.
I'm just being clear because I have to. Look at me. Look at what I'm wearing.
Like
I'm a fucking Boston hoodie.
Steve Vai is one of the best guitar players of all time, but name your 5 favorite Steve Vai songs. You can't.
It's like Buckethead.
Yeah. No way. Like sometimes people are great at what they do and it doesn't really translate to the people around them.
Yeah.
And with Maradona, it did. With Michael Jordan, it did. Like,
yeah. Like gambling and cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah. Bouncing quarters off the wall. He made that security guard a star in that sport.
I was going to say, how many gambling addictions do you think Michael Jordan created?
Probably quite a few. Because, I mean, there was that Be Like Mike campaign. So once you saw him gambling, you got to be like, fuck, now I got to gamble.
Yeah.
Shit.
Sucking back citrus cooler Gatorades while you're losing $40,000 doing coin flips.
I love Gatorade. It's such a scam, but I love the delicious taste.
Did you see now they're leaning into the whole like hangover juice thing?
Oh, are they?
They have like Gator Light where it's like Pedialyte.
Yeah, Pedialyte's always going to be the best for hangovers.
I mean, Gatorade's pretty much, it's all just electrolytes. It's all just salt water.
Pedialyte has less sugar in it because it's for infants. So it's not as loaded down with that.
That's weird because I give infants Gatorade.
Do you give them Gatorade with protein? Which is a thing I saw now. It's like, what? Does that have chicken in it? What the fuck? I don't want Gatorade with protein.
Nice fried chicken flavored Gatorade. Sign me up.
Thick with chicken fat when you drink it. Oh, delish.
Ooh, you made me sick, Adam. Thank you.
Use code UNPOPS at checkout to save 15% off your subscription to Gatorade with chicken fat protein.
Get a free container of beet grease for every chicken fat Gatorade.
So that's our episode. Next time around, we're going to dig a little deeper into the politics of Diego Maradona, because after researching this part, that's a pretty important part of his story. He was a very political guy. He just also pounded a ton of coke while he was being political.
Politically.
Right.
Took a lot of coke.
Political.
He did some coke in the bathroom of the Pope and then was talking about him politically. So
politicocaine. So after that, unfortunately, we'll be talking about the death of Diego Maradona, which a lot of stuff has come out about that recently, and it is not dark.
Not pretty.
Yeah. He did not die a pleasant death, and that is a huge fucking bummer. Like, because you would think a guy like this is just going to drop dead of a heart attack, and that's going to be it. one day. Like his heart's literally going to explode like Len Bias. But no, it was a long, drawn out, painful affair.
It's like slowly getting run over by a lawnmower.
Yeah. He was basically neglected to death because, I mean, he had survived so many heart attacks before. Like, he probably could have pulled through this one. We'll get into all of that. And then the season will be over and we'll have to figure out a new season. Maybe it'll be one about how Jeff doesn't even like sports.
How could you ever fucking say that, you scum?
I have 11 episodes researched already. We're going to record them. They're about how Jeff, it's just example after example of how Jeff doesn't even like sports.
I'm so upset that you would even do this.
Jeff, you ever played cricket?
Yes. No, that was King Ralph.
Okay,
Sorry,
so
no,
you don't
I've
even
never,
like sports.
I've never played cricket.
Yeah, you don't even like sports.
When was the last time you played cricket?
All the time. I don't talk about it. I don't like to talk about it. It's a thing I keep close to my chest.
You're a poser.
In case I need to pull that card in a conversation later. Oh, you think you know everything about me? You know anything about my sticky wickets?
Sticky wickets.
Also sticky wicket.
Ooh, I think I'm going to watch King Ralph later.
What is that?
It's a John Goodman movie where almost all of the royal family dies and he ends up being the heir, but he's just some like John Goodman dude from America that becomes the King of England, and it is fantastic.
That does sound fun. Do you want to plug anything else besides King Ralph before we get out of here?
I mean, I do have cool friends such as King Ralph, and you can check that out on Jeff Has Cool Friends, available at patreon.com/Jeff May for the uncensored, well, it is edited, but uncensored and ad-free episodes. Of course, it's available a week later elsewhere. You can also check out Tom and Jeff Watch Batman on Gamefully Unemployed. And of course, Adam doesn't even like sports.
Jeff does not even like sports. That's what this podcast is about. Please listen to it if you never have. Patreon.com/Unpops, unpopsnetwork.supercast.tech. Go there, sign up, give us money. Also, I'm launching a Substack soon. It might even be up by now. I'm recording a bunch of shit in advance so I can get cracking on it. I only launched it in October and haven't written anything on it. It's called Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Friends. This podcast, not this podcast, but Unpops was almost called Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. I still kind of wish we went with that title. That's fun.
It's a lot, big mouthful.
It's a lot, but...
What would the website be? ATF.gov?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or EDU, if they won't let me have the .gov. So be on the lookout for that. You'll be able to give me money to write, help me pay off my tax debts. And I think that's it. Let's get the fuck out of here. Jeff, say goodbye.
Right. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. We love you.